Last Wednesday, 21st of May, over 1,000 workers on the Snowy Hydro 2 project went on strike as part of their fight for fairer pay and conditions. Enterprise bargaining is currently underway for surface and underground workers on the project between the principal contractor, that is Future Generation Joint Venture, and the Australian Workers Union, the AWU. Future Generation Joint Venture is made up of three companies: WeBuild, Clough and Lane Construction. The AWU is seeking a pay increase to level the wages of workers on the Snowy Hydro project with those on the North East Link Tunnels Melbourne project. Why? Because both projects have an employer in common. So this is simply a matter of the union fighting for people doing the same kind of work for the same company, receiving the same pay. The union is also fighting for better working conditions, including a higher meal allowance and daily camp allowance for fly-in, fly-out workers, mental health day entitlements, and improved night shift rates. And I just want to quote the Secretary of the AWU, Tony Callanan, who said that those working Snowy 2 live and those working on the Snowy 2 project live and work in the wilderness in the middle of winter, and when they're not underground tunnelling, they're confined to Spartan work camps. With those on the project, Melbourne are often able to commute home each day. Callanan said it should be obvious to anyone that our members working in the wilderness for 2 weeks straight would expect and should expect to be paid the same as workers in Melbourne who go home to their families each night. With frustration over the lack of progress in the negotiations over the months and months, union delegates had enough and scheduled last week's industrial action. The company's response was to essentially turn the site into a prison, with workers unable to leave their camp areas without facing disciplinary action on the day of the strike. These restrictions were detailed in a notice sent out to workers and reported on in The Australian. And I will quote what the employer said to their employees in response to industrial action. Leaving site early without authorisation will result in disciplinary action. Participants must remain in designated camp areas only. Responding to the notice, the New South Wales Secretary of the AWU, Tony Callanan, who I just quoted previously, said the workers are exercising their lawful right to take protected industrial action, and the project should conduct themselves in a reasonable manner and facilitate the stoppage of work and not try and confine people to their room as punishment. Following the strike, AWU organiser Darren Cameron said, and I quote, "They actually physically locked our members down into camps and they have no legal right to do that. And that will be taken further using our legal options. The workers are set to take further industrial action if the company continues to fail to come back to the table." This is not the first time I've spoken about the Snowy Hydro project in Parliament. Just over a year ago, I spoke about a tunnelling project partially collapsing. And it was not an isolated incident. The project has been shut down twice just this year due to serious safety issues and is billions of dollars over budget. Mr Deputy President, this is becoming a disturbing pattern of behaviour from employers who try and prevent their employees taking legal, lawful industrial action, as is the case in Australian law. Members will remember, and I've recited it many times in this chamber, the infamous case of Qantas, who are currently in the federal court hearing penalties for illegally sacking 1,800 workers simply for exercising their right to take industrial action. Now we have Snowy 2, the project managers here effectively locking people into their camps against their will as a bully boy tactic to try and forestall industrial action. It is unacceptable. It won't be tolerated. And thank God for unions like the AWU who are standing up for their members, and I want to thank them for bringing this to my attention, and particularly the State Secretary, Tony Callanan, and the organiser down there, Darren Cameron.